My name is Bill Tortorella. I'm an author and an artist, and I had a near-death experience in 1994. I was out in Tucson, Arizona. Every year we did a trade show out there with my company. I sold jewelry, and people from all over the world came in. And at the show, when it opened the first day, I noticed a lot of people walking by, coughing and things like that. It's in February in Tucson. You know, that time of year is the flu season, the virus season, and people were sick, I noticed from the first day. Now, we're into the show maybe 3 days, and I look across the way, and I heard the lady being sick, one of the people that were working the show in another booth. She was pretty sick for a few days already. She was been coughing and everything, and all of a sudden she just dropped to the floor. And I went running over because prior to my experience and what I do now, I used to be a paramedic in Miami. So I went running over to make sure she was okay. I just wanted to make sure she had a good airway and she was breathing. It was that evening when I went back to my hotel room, I start to get desperately ill. And when I'm talking ill, I have never experienced anything like this. I mean, I've had bad flus in my life before, but this was bad. So that night went through. I was up most of the night because I was feeling worse and worse. I did get dressed in the morning. I went down to my booth to run it for the day, and my people that I had working for me took one look at me and they said, "Bill, you got to get yourself to the hospital." They didn't even ask any questions. So I went off into the hospital area, and there was a lot of people. Don't forget, this show was all over Tucson, Arizona. So actually there was many people that were sick, and the hospitals were filled. So they asked us if we would go to close by medical centers. So I did. I went into a medical center, and it was perfect because they put me right on a gurney. They said I was completely dehydrated. They said basically from having no fluids in my body, my oxygen levels were horrible. So they hooked me up with oxygen right away and hooked me up with IV. And they were coming by with every IV bag that they, put into me. They shot injections of antibiotic because they had no idea whether this was viral or bacterial. And medical centers are a little different than hospitals. They close at a certain time of the day. So I was there the whole day. And right before closing, they said, look, they said, your oxygen levels are back up. Everything looks okay. You still have a fever, but they think that I would be all right. So they gave me a bottle of antibiotic to bring back to the hotel with me. And they gave me an inhaler. They said this might help you breathe a little bit. So I went back to the hotel room directly. I wasn't eating much during the day. Went back directly, and I did exactly what they said. And about 4 or 5 hours later, they told me to take the antibiotic, wait 4 or 5 hours and take it. I took it right before I went to bed. Now, because I must have left the medical clinic because it was close to 7 o'clock. So about midnight, I must have fell off. And I fell off, and that night turned into a night of light and love. This is a profound near-death experience. I remember the exact way I left my body. I've seen my body. I've seen myself in my spirit looking at my body, and I'm leaving my body through my eyes. I left in this beautiful, beautiful, glowing mist. It was like the color of basically a fern in the spring when it first comes out, magnified by, it felt to me hundreds of times, because I was in glowing. Now I'm feeling like I'm the color of life, and I'm already feeling love now hovering above my body. I'm looking down upon myself from the top of the room. And I'm looking down at that body, seeing how cumbersome it looked. It looked cumbersome. It looked like it was in pain. It wasn't moving. And remember these exact words saying it, because I said it out loud in my spirit. I said, that body is dead. When I said that body has died, this light came from behind and lit up the hole underneath me and turned me. It turned me. I didn't turn. It turned me, and this beautiful, magnificent gateway opens. And it draws me right in. It drew me in so fast that now I'm in this beautiful tunnel that's made up of these magnificent colors. It's like looking through a spectrum and magnifying those colors by thousands of times. And I'm part of that free-flowing love and color, and I'm starting to move. And I'm moving faster and faster. And I'm feeling embraced. I'm feeling nothing but love. I actually feel like I'm being cradled somehow. And it felt like something or someone was cradling me. But I was, and the colors were, I'm going so fast, they were whizzing by me and through me. And I feel like I'm moving through nebula clouds. I'm moving through the universe. It's magnificent. And the faster I go, the more love I feel. The love was so intense. It was quite incredible there. And I'll never forget my arrival, which I'll call heaven, because I'm a believer in God. And I said, I'm home. I'm finally home. I said that over and over. I was talking to myself, and I heard myself out loud. There's no voices at that. I mean, there's no bodies at this time. There's just, I'm in full spirit form in this beautiful, free-floating, glowing mist. And then I hear the soft voice in my ear say, yes, Bill, you're home in the light of God. And now I'm shocked because it's the first time I'm actually hearing someone else. There's other spirits all around. And all the spirits looked like they were beautiful beams of light. I was a free-floating type of mist. And they were brightly colored. And the wisdom going through everyone, it almost felt like we were all connected. And the voice comes back and says, my name is Antonia. And she says, I am one of your guides, and I was responsible for bringing you home. I didn't realize, I had no idea that, I thought I was all alone in that tunnel, but she was with me, and I believe today that that's why I felt so cradled. I believe that she was physically taking me, and it was magnificent. All I could explain it as, it was the most beautiful experience in my life because it was love. And Antonia said, you have two other guides. She explained to me. And right after she explained about the other guides, I had the chance to participate with, I felt, family members and friends. And you actually have a spirit family. You travel, I believe, in your own spirit circles. And there was communication going on. It was magnificent. And Antonia said, your other guide has arrived. And I looked up and I seen this beautiful glowing spirit coming towards me. And I hear this voice now. In my mind, everything's telepathic. I hear this voice, hello, Billy. And I knew in my heart, 24 years prior to this happening to me, my brother had passed away from a cancer. I said, Peter, and he said, yes, Billy. And we actually I felt his love through this amazing energy. Once he said Billy to me, our embrace was magnificent. It's like the light came into each other. It was wonderful. And then he said, we have to go now. I, I remember saying, where? I didn't understand what he says. We're going for a life review. And we move to a totally different plateau or area. It's beautiful. It's illuminated with magnificent color, reflecting off of what I felt was like silver crystals. It was magic. It was magical at the time. But now they start showing me, it almost felt like, if you realize how a motion picture used to work, like a flickering camera moving at high speeds, and the reel is running and running and running, and then it stops, and then it starts again. Well, what exactly happened, what I'm trying to say exactly, is that it stops at periods of my life. It started when I was a young man, young man. I was a young boy. And my mom did all right for herself. She owned a bar and grill across the street from Ebbets Field, where the Brooklyn Dodgers used to play. And my dad was president of United Parcel, a local 804 Teamsters Union in New York. So we were comfortable. Sometimes my mom would give me some money. I would take, and I'm seeing this now. I'm seeing this in the life review. So she would tell me, take your friends along with you. So we took them out. I took them to the movies when I could, because a lot of my friends weren't in the same position I was. We went to Coney Island. This is when, now we're a little older. We're young preteens, 12 years old. We used to get in. One time we got in, we went to the World's Fair. This stopped at all these moments. It was beautiful. And then it brought me to the days when I was going through school and finishing up my art training. I graduated from art and design in New York, and it showed me getting awards for this. Well, my brother had just passed away, I think, when I was about 15, and I had Jesus in my heart. So one of the art teachers says, "What's going to be your project for?" They were making a storyboard concept for, basically like they used to do a show or a commercial. So we had 17 panels to do. I painted this amazing life of Jesus from his birth, crucifixion, to his crucifixion. And that was quite amazing. So that was sort of the beginning of the life review. Then it takes me to a part when I move from New York City to Miami. But I no longer could find work in my field. So I had become a paramedic for the county, for Miami-Dade County. I became a paramedic, and it was an amazing experience. So now it's flickering again. It's moving, and it's moving through some of the sequences I had when I was graduated from the medical school there as a paramedic. Now it's taken me through my actual runs we had on our unit, and it stopped at one in particular that we were just picking up our unit from downtown. Over our radio, we hear this call, this emergency call of 317. 317 means it's a car accident or an emergency accident on the road. We get to the scene, and there's a two-car accident, a pileup. Her little Chevy Nova, I believe it was, rammed into the back of a pickup truck. There was two people in her car. The brother was running around screaming, so we thought he was hurt. So we picked up the bag, ran right over to the brother, and the brother points over, my sister. And Danny and I, we look at the girl's head is through the windshield, basically. So we had to assess the problem immediately. I slowly and gently picked up her head and eased it into Danny so he could carefully hold on to her till I got around and we put her on the stretcher. We rolled her back to the unit as quick as possible. We're in the unit driving back to Parkway. I have the brother in the back seat with me, but her body starts seizing from the shock that she was in. She was never awake. She was always unconscious, but her body's seizing now, and I can't hold her. So I yell, "God, help me." I'm actually speaking to the brother, but I see Peter's hand come over. This is in my life review. I see Peter's hand come over and put it on top of mine when it was on her head trying to hold the gauze bandages down. I believe we have angels around us at all times. And I felt when he did that in my life review, I knew he was with me that day. I'm seeing all this again in the life review, and we get her to Parkway General Hospital within minutes. They caught her off into emergency surgery right away. My partner and I go back to our station, we get a change of uniform, and we go about our day. But all that I could think about the whole day was her. She was on my mind through the whole day. And we had several units there, so some of the other guys that were working with us were saying, Bill, don't take your work home with you. Just concentrate on the rest of the day. But this young girl was only about 17 years old, and it hurt inside. All I could do was think about her. So I woke up Danny early in the morning. I said, Danny, we have to go. And he said, what time is it? Because I woke him up a lot earlier than we usually get to go to bring the unit back to downtown. And I said, we got to go to Parkway. He looked at me and says, Bill, her injury was that bad. He says, Bill, she's not alive. And I said, Danny, I have to go. And he finally agreed with me, and we went to Parkway. And we go into Parkway General Hospital. Now we know all the nurses and a lot of the shifts there because we work 24-hour shifts. So I believe it was a nurse by the name of Becky. And she came up to me, and I said to her, what happened to that young lady we brought in yesterday? And she leaned over and says, you want to meet her? And this put chills up my spine, my hair. It's still today, my hair stands up on my arm. It was beautiful. And that actually happened in real life. I mean, during that accident. And she took us up to the room. She's sitting up in bed, eating Jell-O. Her brother's sleeping on a chair. Her brother must have hears us and woke up and screams, that's the man that saved your life. And there was nothing but joy in the room and happiness. And it was just an amazing feeling. And I got to see all of this again in my life review. Oh, we're moving again. And they keep showing me, scene after scene of all the good things I've done, But then they turn it. And now they're showing me all the wrongs, all the bad things that I've done in life. And they start again when I'm a young boy, teenager. And, when you're a teenager, you do little stupid things here and there. Don't feel like I ever hurt anybody real bad, but there's things you feel sorry that you've done. And it goes on now, and it's the flickering screen's rolling again, and now we stop. And it's at the point in life where I'm married to my first wife with a 2-year-old son. And I decide to leave. I believe now, and I know in my heart, that those are the years of being young and dumb. And the difference now was I not only seen the pain that I caused, I physically became their pain. I felt the hurt. Whereas when it happened in life, when you're selfish and things like that, when it actually happened, I wasn't thinking about their pain. But now I turn into them. I see their side. I feel their side. I feel their emotion. I feel their tears. I feel their inside hurt. And I physically become the pain. The pain gets so drastic. I feel the tears in my spirit rolling down my face. I had no idea I caused that kind of pain. It got so bad, I started screaming. I remember screaming in my spirit, saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. When I said, I'm sorry, please God, forgive me. When I said, please God, forgive me, all the grayness dropped. And now we're back in spirit form again. And Antonia is standing there now with Peter. And the beauty is Antonia turns around and says to me, Bill, look at yourself. And I never forget this in my whole life. I looked down at myself and I turned into this magnificent beam, this energy, magnificent beam. And I have this joyous love of me. And whenever you're not part of doing the life review, or you're in pure spirit form, so you're living in love. And this energy that is on the other side is love. I looked down, like I said, I was a beam. Now I felt like I was like exactly like them. And now I'm really home. I went from this free-flowing green mist into this magnificent beam of light, of energy that felt everything going around. They asked me what I see, and I said, I see everything. What I hear everything. I understood other spirits around us. And it's just amazing, because you could be actually speaking in your mind, with telepathy, and actually understand what's going around with everyone else around you. It's like you're part and all one. It's beautiful. It's love. At this point, the love inside me has built so strong. And this love is different than any other love that you could ever imagine here on earth. If you take the most, or person or child that you love, and compound it, and compound it by hundreds of times, that would be the closest thing I could, closest way of comparing it, because it's impossible to explain. The love, you become the physical love. It's in you. You feel love. It's not like here we talk about love, but when you're on the other side and you become part of God's love, in God's light, that's what God is. God is love. God is eternity. He is light, and He is love. And it's the most magnificent feeling in the world. Peter and Antonia say almost at the same time, Bill, Oren is approaching. Another beautiful spirit approaches me. This spirit I feel from a distance already. As he gets closer, I feel him in my spirit. He's a spirit of magical wisdom. His wisdom is so strong, but I know this spirit. And when I say I know this spirit has been with me my whole life. We always say there's an angel that sits on one shoulder, and Oren was that angel. He was my angel of, I call, intuition. We all have these guides. We have guides throughout our whole lifetime. I know that through some of the things that occurred in my lifetime. And without the guides, I believe I wouldn't be here right now. We all have, I had 3. I don't know exactly if everyone has 3, but I know you all have guides around you throughout your whole life. So Oren says to me, we're going through one more platform, and they bring me to this hall of crystal, and it's magnificent. The crystal is reflecting light of the universe, and it's beautiful. And now they're showing me things, not my personal life necessarily. They're showing me the world's lifetime. It starts prior to my birth. I'm seeing wars that I've never been in. I'm seeing things happening, explosions in wars. I've never been in World War II. I've never been in Korea. I mean, I've had family there, but I haven't been there. So I have no idea why it brought me there. unless maybe I was there. I have no idea during an incarnation. I have no idea on that. But the key fact is it brought me before my birth. That was a little confusing to me. Then it brought me up. I seen my birth. It goes past that. And I remember it stops again, and we stop, and I'm in my classroom. I don't remember what grade it was, but I remember the loudspeaker on the wall and the principal coming in saying, JFK just got shot. That was our president. Our president just got killed in Dallas, Texas, and we love JFK. And the whole school was dismissed that day and walked home. I'll never forget it because my mother's sitting at the kitchen table, and there was always singing going on in my house when I got home. Well, this day, there wasn't any singing. There was just sadness. And we all were quite somber over that. Now we're moving again, and it's again, and I'm moving faster and faster, but it's stopping. Every time it stops, it moves at speeds that are unbelievable. It stops, and you're in the scene. We're physically in the scene. So it stopped. I remember the Vietnam War ending. I remember watching the helicopters land on the building down there. I think it was the U.S. consulate. I remember that part. Then we're moving again, and it's moving at this time. It's moving through things that happened in the 80s now and 90s, and now it's moving past my death, my near-death experience, and it stops. I believe today to be 9/11, and people are running, and I have people because I come from New York City, and now there's people that I have that's been working in those buildings for years. And I go running, and I remember Oren grabbing me, because just remember, the only time you see yourself in physical body is in your life review and what I call the Hall of Events. Some people call it Akasha Records. But I remember being grabbed by Oren and said, this can't hurt you, Bill. This is your future. And I didn't quite understand that when he said that, because I believed I was already in heaven. He says, this is your future. And then it moved on. And the next time it stopped, we were in, I believe, to be Baghdad, because there were bombs going off. And the only reason why I believed it to be Baghdad is because of the way people were dressed. And the same thing, running. And their dress, that's the thing that gave me the idea that we were in Baghdad at the time. Now we're moving for the last part. And I believe it's taken us to the times we're in today. We have to come together as we are in heaven. There's so much more good in the world than bad. But we have choices to make in the near future, which I believe in the very near future, because they showed me two physical outcomes along with different planes of variations of outcomes. They bring me to a place where I'm feeling like it's the movie Mad Max. It's that bad, where people are basically not, well, living from each other, stealing, killing. It's not good. But then they switch it. They switch it, and now I'm in a place where there's love, there's kindness with all people around me. Incarnated people I'm talking about. I'm in a place where people realize that love is the answer, and that kindness and forgiveness, and a place of beauty where service comes naturally, where like I do, since I had my near-death experience. In my real life, I see something happen, I usually stop and run over to make sure people are all right. We're coming to a level where people have awareness. People are starting to understand The light is coming in stronger than it's ever been. And we're coming to a level where we are going to live in pure kindness and love and service. And that's what I feel. I don't feel like it's going to become a world like the Mad Max days. I feel that we're going to that level of utopia. I know in my heart we are. So the last part, they bring me to a beautiful area with all beautiful angels around me. I felt like it was a council of angels. Within these angels, their brightness, there was so much wisdom and enlightenment. I was gifted with 9 principles of enlightenment. There were principles that are so simplistic that will bring us to this utopia level. The beauty about these principles is they're easy to follow. Listen, God doesn't want things to be hard for us. He wants us to live in this utopia life with love. And that's what we try to achieve. We want to try to achieve that because we might want to become, maybe someday we become angels for others. The beauty of this wisdom was so important. It was wisdom of life and death. You can't take anyone's life. You are allowed to self-defend, but you shouldn't take anyone's life because you cannot change their life path. Choices. Our choices, like I said earlier, I've been telling you these 9 principles as we go along. Our choices are a sequence of choice on how our spirit grows. And if we do incarnate over and over again, we learn from every incarnation, and our spirit grows and grows through a process of choice. Our service represents not only service, it represents kindness and forgiveness. Our love, my gosh, well, in my book, there's 9 ladders of love, and it's beautiful, and it's a good understanding of God's love for us. I mean, I just glanced through some of the principles in life, but these 9 principles that were given to me were so important, along with a sequence of numbers that they told me simple things, like what my life path number was. And they told me my life path number was 3. They told me that I had an alert sign in my life. And they told me the number was 66. Now, I knew this number because this number I resonated with my whole life. For some reason, when this number showed up a lot in my life, it was either something very, very good was happening or something not so good was going to happen. So it was basically what they said. It was like an alert sign for me to understand. Then this beautiful spirit approaches me. She's glowing with light. And she says, you have to go back. You have to go back to Earth. And I say, no, I can't. I'm part of love. I'm light. I am love. I'm part of God's love. And she says, you must return. She says, do you understand the 9 principles of enlightenment? I said, I understand everything. But please don't send me back. Don't send me back. I begged. I pleaded. I remember I didn't want to come back to this life, this body. I didn't want to come back. And she says, Dad, I'm 6 of 6. You must return. I didn't understand that that meant. All I knew at that time, I was in a vortex, and I'm being pulled back through this vortex. It wasn't quite as comfortable as going. It was actually quite hard. And I remember being forced back into my body. And all I remember at that time is I took this breath from inside, like I was underwater for, if you were possibly drowning or something. And I took this enormous breath in, and the only thing that moved was my throat. I'm laying in bed, and the only thing that moved is my throat, and now my whole body doesn't move. I don't have no feeling in my arms, no feeling in my legs. I thought I was paralyzed. I thought I was going to be paralyzed because time moves awful slow when you're back in your body and you can't move because you don't realize what's happening to you. And then finally, after about 10 minutes or so, I remember getting tingles. It's like when you fall asleep on your leg or something and you stop the blood flow. Well, my blood flow basically was stopped. And now I feel tingles, and now I start to be able to move a little bit my arms and legs. That felt might have been only 10 minutes, felt like hours to me. But I remember reaching over, and I had people working with me. I think I said to the operator, get one of my people up here with me, and they were basically next door. And I guess they got in, and I passed out again. I woke up in the hospital. There's a very extremely interesting end of this story. My wife wasn't with me on this trip. She was pregnant at home with my son. My son Billy was being born in September of 1994. I had an older son named Joey. He was 45 now. I didn't have a daughter. As the years went by, the 6 of 6 always stood with me because that was with me even before I had my near-death experience. That 6 of 6 was with me my whole lifetime. I remembered those numbers. In the year 2000, on the 6th month, the 6th day, I had a baby girl, and she's with me today. And she just was 24 years old.